illnesses that are mysterious and unexplained. I know I literally just posted a video about viruses, but I'm
not done yet.
I'm not done yet. What's up, everybody? I am Shelby Nave. Welcome back to my channel. Today, the coronavirus is still upon us. Amidst researching for my last video all about the history of virus outbreaks, if you want to watch it, I'll link it right here. But I actually fell down a bit of a rabbit hole while I was researching and came across some peculiar illnesses. I was reading about all the ones that have been reported throughout history and I was like, I want to talk about this one too. Today, I'm going to be taking you guys through a couple of the most mysterious illnesses that have been reported throughout history. I try my best to always fact check myself. If I say something today that you don't think is accurate, please nicely correct me in the comments below. We are all here to learn. Now let's get started. I don't think I'm liking my hair like this. Ow, ow, ow. Okay, perfect. There we go. This is more me. All right, first illness on our list, the dancing plague. The dancing plague of 1518 was the bizarre occurrence where 400 people or so danced for days on end, seemingly unwillingly and uncontrollably. What? This event took place in Strasbourg, France, which at the time was a free state in the Holy Roman Empire. And this went on for a month. Many of the people affected eventually collapsed from exhaustion, strokes, and heart attacks. So these people quite literally danced themselves to death. Nobody seems to know exactly what caused this, but theories range anywhere from overheated blood to demonic possessions. One article I read suggested that those who were affected may have eaten bread that was made out of rye contaminated with the fungal disease ergot. Ergot is a fungus that grows on rye and other similar plants, and poisoning can result in
spasms, convulsions, hallucinations, unconsciousness,
and death. In my opinion, if I would assume, I would say that ergot poisoning is the most likely culprit for the situation, just because that would ultimately be a really good explanation for all the uncontrollable movements and spasms. And it's not like the FDA was back there in 1518 moderating all the bread that people were consuming. Also, since this took place in France, the FDA wouldn't have been there at all, given that it's a United States agency. However, the fact that it was over 400 people who were affected and dancing uncontrollably for this prolonged amount of time and died from it, that's incredibly bizarre. Ergot poisoning is also a potential culprit for the witches in the Salem witch trials. There was a report of an outbreak of ergot-infested wheat that happened right before the Salem witch trials. So in case you weren't already convinced, it's very likely that the witches in the Salem witch trials were not witches at all and likely were just under ergot poisoning, causing their abnormal behaviors. Alice in Wonderland Syndrome. Yes, there is an illness called Alice in Wonderland Syndrome. This illness is also known as Todd syndrome because it was originally identified in the 1950s by the psychiatrist Dr. John Todd. He noted that a lot of these symptoms were very similar to the episodes that Alice would have in Alice in Wonderland. First off, this is a very rare condition. Only about 10% of the population gets it at all, and those affected are usually children. The syndrome causes episodes of disorientation and distorted perceptions. Some victims feel way bigger or way smaller than they actually are, or their depth perception is off. They think something is a lot closer or a lot further away than it actually is. Some people have even said that the objects around them get really big or really small. The majority of the sources that I looked into primarily had this syndrome affecting vision, but apparently it can also affect your hearing, your touch, and your sense of time. You may think that time is moving much faster and much slower than it actually is. This condition, as I said, primarily affects children and young adults. A lot of people grow out of the distorted perception with age, but it is still possible to experience it in adulthood. Havana Syndrome. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if this is the official name for the syndrome. For the purpose of this video, that's what I'm gonna call it. There's a lot of debate and speculation around this topic in particular, and it's kind of hard to differentiate what actually is true and what's not. What's just a convenient explanation that people are telling others, or if perhaps authorities are keeping information withheld. I'm gonna tell you about it. You can make your own decision. In August of 2017, reports started coming in of unusual symptoms experienced by the United States and Canadian embassy staff located in Havana, Cuba.
26 American embassy staffers in Cuba, one diplomat in China now are confirmed to have suffered what the U.S. government calls health attacks.
Feel this sound in my head. It was intense pressure
on both of my temples. At the same time, I heard this low humming sound, and it was oscillating.
Strong nausea and headache and dizziness.
So debilitating that it feels like your head is being split open. So debilitating that I couldn't sleep.
You believe that someone in the room above you was using some kind of a weapon to attack your family in the hotel room below.
I do.
Is it possible that they're victims of their own imaginations?
There is no way you can fake this.
There are things that are identified in their MRIs and CAT scans as showing traumatic brain injury.
There are a lot of elements here that just discount the idea of this being mass hysteria.
Have they told you or Catherine whether this is permanent damage?
Yes, it looks like it.
But on this story, with so many unknowns and so many questions unanswered,
the United States government is still not sure who or what is responsible for those health attacks.
Many told NBC they fear the government is downplaying what happened.
I really want our story to be told. I want America to know what happened to their diplomats serving overseas.
Studies were performed on the diplomats affected, and evidence was found that the victims had experienced some sort of brain injury, which is crazy enough in itself that there was a noise that literally caused people brain damage. But now the real question is, what is causing these noises that seems to be specific to the United States and Canadian embassy staff? This is where the topic is kind of highly up for debate since the subject has gone under a lot of scrutiny. A lot of people think that these victims were the target of some sort of sonic attack. Some people say that this was the result of some sort of microwave weapon, which on the surface may not seem kind of believable, but apparently it's been reported in the past of microwave weapons getting used at the US Embassy in Russia. So is it really that far-fetched? I don't know. One source I read mentioned that scientists think that it literally was a sound that was made by crickets. And I'm sorry, the last I checked, a cricket chirp doesn't give people brain damage, and I don't know, maybe that's where the sound originated from, but I feel like it's possibly something a little more severe. There seems to be a lot of controversy around the actual investigation of this case, which leads some experts to believe that there may be information that is being withheld, especially since there's not a lot known about the case, even though it's been very publicly scrutinized. It's made international headlines and caused all non-emergency employees at the embassy in Cuba to get pulled out. I don't know. Something fishy's going on, in my opinion. Something just doesn't seem right. Something doesn't completely add up, and I honestly think that politics is a huge factor in it. When I feel like you get like your science experts and then the political players intermingling too much, I don't think it makes a lot of good news. I'm sure that there are plenty of ulterior motives involved, and it's really hard to get the truth out when it may not even be entirely known yet, and then you throw politics into the mix, and that always creates confusion, false information, and skewed perceptions. I don't know, you decide. Living statues. A concept that seems to have come right out of my nightmares. The actual disease is called encephalitis lethargica, or the sleeping sickness. I hope I said that right. This disease attacks a person's brain, typically leaving them motionless, speechless, and in a statue-like state. Supposedly, the person is completely aware of themselves and their surroundings, but just not fully awake and can't move or speak. One source said, quote, "They would sit motionless and speechless all day in their chairs, totally lacking energy, initiative, motive, appetite, affect, or desire. They registered what went on about them without active attention and with profound indifference. They neither conveyed nor felt the feeling of life. They were as insubstantial as ghosts and as passive as zombies." Dude, yikes! It's a bit of a fear of mine to be in a like catatonic or like coma-like state, or even like sleep paralysis or something. Any sort of like paralyzation where it's like I'm aware but I like can't move. That's always just been a really freaky concept to me, and I'm fortunate enough to not have endured something like that, knock on wood. But just to have a disease where you're completely aware of what's going on around you but you can't do anything or say anything, or even like you're just totally indifferent towards life in general, freaky. Between 1915 in 1926, this illness began to spread, affecting approximately 5 million people. A third of those with rather severe cases did pass away from it. However, one source that I read mentioned that even those who recovered from this illness never got their full, aliveness back. And as of right now, there is no certain cause for this disease, which again, it's rare, but still freaky. There's also been apparently a lot of people who have been prone to other diseases after getting this disease. Many studies have been put into place to try to figure out the origin of this disease, but as of right now, it remains a mystery. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed just a few of those mysterious illnesses. If you like this video, definitely give me a thumbs up below, and don't forget to subscribe before heading out. If you'd like to hang out with me in between uploads, make sure to check the description bar. I've listed all of my social media there. You can go give me a follow if you want. If you would like to see more of these mystery or historical type videos from me in the future, definitely let me know in the comments. Give me your topics that you want to hear me talk about. I'd be willing to do it. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you the next time I upload a new video.